sound in there. I just want to hear it in there.
I think this album came together really easily because we were, as people, very optimistic about the future. So we started off this record with a kind of a sense of freedom, a sense of optimism, and a sense of kind of anything is possible now.
I think this is the record that we had the most material when we went in to record it, you know, and I think a lot of it kind of stemmed from mine and Brian's kind of frustration with the situation we were in during the Meds session.
At the end of the Meds tour, Placebo was kind of a band only really in name. In a way, it had sort of ceased to become a band and it sort of become a brand, almost. What that meant to me was that it seemed like you were kind of selling something as opposed to sort of living something. I've spent the past 15 years of my life sort of creating a world where, creating a sort of an alternative universe where you don't really need to go to work at the same time of day every day, that you don't have to hate the people that you work with, that you don't have to sit at a desk and do things which are soul-destroying. And surely being in a band is this wonderful, creative, expressive alternative to that.
As a band, we continuously write. I think what happened during the Meds tour was that me and Brian, we were writing separately, individually, not really knowing that the other person was writing. And during sound checks, where we usually try out new material, that wasn't really happening on the tour. But towards the end of the Meds tour, me and Brian kind of came together and said, listen, we got to, steer this ship back on its right track. And that's when we started to play each other the stuff that we'd written individually, and that's kind of when the concept of this new record, came about.
I had a few things in my mind when it sort of came to making a new record. I wanted to make a record which was very colorful, because I'd felt that Meds was pretty dark and pretty down, and there were certain moments on Meds which are probably the bleakest moments that sort of musically and emotionally that we've had in our career. And I wanted to do something which was kind of a bit more upbeat and a bit more optimistic, almost psychedelic in the true sense of the word, not necessarily inspired directly by psychedelic music, but just full of color, basically.
Just a feeling that we still had the urge, and we still felt that we had things to write about and new musical avenues to explore together.
We got a new drummer in the band. We weren't tied down to a record contract anymore. What Placebo could do at that point was kind of a blank canvas, and that really sort of excited us.
Really nice stuff in there. Yeah, really exciting.
I feel a little spent.
Come on in.
Hello.
Hello.
Could you please state your name?
Klaus von Schwanzkäse.
Afternoon, Mr. Schwanzkäse.
Guten Tag.
What is your role in this artistic endeavor upon which we have just embarked?
I plays bass. I stroke my strings. I like to say Vorsprung durch Technik.
Sehr gut. Supergeil.
Alles klar, Herr Kommissar.
We didn't really want to go through an arduous audition process where we'd have, you know, X amount of drummers coming in and you know, trying them all out. We know that it's a lot to do with personality when it comes to being in a band.
We were looking for somebody whose enthusiasm could rub off on us, who would experience all of these things that we'd already experienced for the first time, and for their excitement to kind of raise us up out of our sort of mid-30s jadedness, you know, and kind of make us into kids again. That is certainly one of the things that Steve has brought to the band. This sort of freshness, this I'll try anything, you know, this kind of excitement.
We toured the States in the beginning of the Meds tour, and we had a band called Everline support us, and Steve Forrest was the drummer in that band then.
It wasn't until, you know, over a year later when news kind of got out that that Placebo was a man down, and that there was perhaps, you know, a vacant space on the drum stool, that lots of drummers started getting in touch, one of which was Steve Forrest.
Early '07 to, you know, later in '08, almost that entire year, I spent looking for work, looking for bands, and there's really good friends of mine, a band called We Are the Fury from Toledo, Ohio, that we had done some tours with previously. So they gave me a call and said, "Right, why don't you do some tech work for us, you know, kind of stay busy and get out there on the road." So I was out there doing that, and about halfway through, my mom's giving me a call, and she, you know, she's like, "Hey, remember that band that you toured with, Placebo?" Yeah, she's like, "Well, I was just online, and I noticed that their drummer had left and needed a drum, but they specifically put out a thing saying, you know, we're not looking for a drummer right now at this time." So I figured, I was like, all right, well, I had made this video resume with one of my mates that had done some videos for us. So I was like, well, I'll get the contact information, send them this little video resume, say, "Hey, you know, my name's Steve, I know you're not looking for anybody, but if and when you do start looking for me, maybe consider me." And I was like, I remember sending it to the manager, and like being like really nervous and like, oh, you know, really wanting this gig. And like the day after, something like that, Alex Weston, the manager, emailed me back and said, "Hey, yeah, are you free tomorrow? Let's have a chat." And like 5 minutes after, I mean, I was just like bounced off the walls at this point. And about 5 minutes later, I get a phone call, and he's like, "It's Steve." Immediately, I knew who it was because he sounds just like he sings when he talks. And I was like, "Oh yeah." And he's like, "This is Brian from Placebo." I was like, "Oh, what's up, man? Like, long time no talk." It was really good. We had about an hour and a half conversation, just kind of get inside each other's heads. And he's like, "Yeah, well, why don't you come out to London in January for a couple of weeks and see how it feels?" I was like, "Oh yeah."
We decided to fly him over from California, just hang out for a while and jam and see whether we connected as people or not, because that's really important, almost more so than sort of a person's musicianship. So you have to kind of figure out whether or not you want to spend 2 years, 10 years, 20 years of your life with this person, living essentially in each other's pockets. Because I mean, to the outside world, this life of kind of tour buses looks very, very glamorous, but there is not a lot of personal space.
Like before actually talking to him, I was kind of like had this idea of like, yeah, it'd be like phone interview sort of thing, kind of get to know me, but we just kind of like really clicked and connected. So within like the first 5-10 minutes, like all that kind of went out the window. It was just like I was chatting to one of my mates, you know.
He came over, we hung out. He learned a lot of the stuff, and we just went in for a couple of days, and you know, after a couple of hours when the nerves have subsided, we were jamming new stuff. He's got a very big heart, a big personality, a lot of warmth, a lot of positivity, a lot of energy. As a player, very demonstrative. The shirt was off, the tattoos are out, and you know, and I think for me and Brian, it's just like a bit of a breath of fresh air to kind of have that kind of positive energy.
nerve-wracking. I remember because Alex, she told me, she's like, no, don't worry, just here's the records I've done, just get familiar with the music. And I was like, nah, fuck that. I'm gonna learn every record. I want to be like, I thought I had this envision of like an audition. So I was like, I want to be more than ready. If they asked me to play one song, I'll say, right, name any track type thing. And so I got over here, and I've always wanted to come to London anyway. So it was really like fantastic on the touristy side of it, but also coming over here. So it was really exciting, and I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know how they were going to play, and because also their style was so much different than what I'd been used to playing, I was really curious to see how we would kind of mesh, you know, in our playing. So it was a lot of excitement. There's some video of me on doing like this tour, and I'm like this, you know, happy gay little schoolboy. He's like, yay! You know, like, he's like uber excited. So lots of smiles, that's for sure.
Silence.
Oh, sorry.
I think we have a little announcement to make. Kind of.
So, what, are you pregnant?
The boys have come to a decision on the album. Who they'd like to play on the album.
Yeah.
And they'd love it if it was you.
What you did?
Approved and confirmed, Steve, if you're up for it.
Good.
Yeah, fuck yes,
That's good.
it's gonna. Oh yes.
Oh, I think he's just broken a rib.
I gotta go around.
What's the ribs? Oh, Jesus. Oh.
Yes. Oh yes.
Great stuff springs to mind, you know. But, yeah, well done. That's great.
Welcome
You look happy, mate.
And again.
Yeah.
I think this is just magical.
Nice, all this.
Yes, it definitely felt like a fresh start making a record. I mean, every time you go into the studio, you are aware that it could be a fresh start, but it's very difficult not to fall into sort of methods and, you know, techniques that you've used in the past. So when you work with different people, they're going to bring their own slant on it and you know, a different approach. So yes, it definitely felt like a new beginning. It felt like sort of, you know, Placebo Mark III, I guess.
It's just the nature of the sound.
We'd made 5 records here in Europe with 5 European producers. We felt a change of scene, since there was a change of lineup, it'd be a good idea for us as a band to take ourselves out of our sort of comfort zone in a way. And David Bottrell, with his sort of credentials, Tool, Muse and Deus, we thought that he could, you know, capture a more live and a bigger sounding record than what we made before.
We decided to work with David Bottrell because we really wanted to make an impact with this record. We really wanted to do something sonically that was enormous. And there's a lot of people that you can work with who can do that, but Dave Bottrell has been, you know, has recorded and produced and mixed Tool. several times over the years. That's kind of why he kind of came to mind. What we really wanted to do was to make a record that was ridiculously powerful. So what do you do when you want to make a record like that? You look for people who've made ridiculously powerful records in the past.
Very easy to get along with, very professional, not sycophantic, took the songs for what they were, and very much had the song in mind, you know, what did the song need?
He has excellent people skills. He really, really knows how to sort of get the best out of a musician. He understands the psychology of recording musicians really, really well. So you don't really notice that he's doing it at the time, but he is everything the way that he communicates with you is really all about getting the best performance out of you, making you feel the most at ease, never really under pressure, and he always makes you feel like what you're doing is worthwhile, even if it's a mistake, which I think is truly excellent. And you can tell that he's got a great deal of experience working with a lot of crazy people, I think, you know, in order to be so refined in his psychology towards bands.
I wonder if just at the very end, when you go into the higher harmony, perhaps you could just back off the mic a bit.
Back off the mic.
Just back off a touch.
Okay.
Not too far, just you know.
Gotcha.
Sing it from the mountaintops.
Okay. The hills are alive.
The hills are alive with the sound of Placebo.
I loved working in Toronto. We worked in Toronto with David Bottrell because it's his hometown, and you know, he kind of threw us the idea right at the beginning of our working relationship of possibly, you know, going over the pond and recording the album in North America. Considering that we hadn't recorded outside of Europe before, it was, you know, quite an exciting prospect for us. I think we realized that it was going to do two things. First of all, that it was going to kind of take us out of our comfort zone. And secondly, that because we were so far away from home, it would kind of create a really good working environment for us, or a good sort of working attitude, because you were sort of free of all the distractions that you could have if you were at home or if you were doing something in London, for example.
It's got a good vibe, you know, it's a very tolerant city, you know. And the studio that we worked in was an industrial estate, so there was nothing around, you know. We basically did 5 days a week, you know, very focused, and it was the most productive and quickest recording session we've had. Because in the past we've spent 9 months recording in the studio, and that is definitely not good for your mental health.
High strings. Are we getting all the output because do you have to have the 3 outputs? I wonder.
I think it's so that you can plug it into 3 different amps.
Yeah. But is it each pickup goes to a different...
They're all on now.
They're all
All
on.
the pickups are on.
And they're all coming out that one hole.
Yeah.
You know what it might be nice for? You know the,
That's it clean. That's it super clean.
right. Well, there's still effects on it. There's still shit going on, right?
Oh yeah, of course. It's not distorted yet.
Right. You know the,
Am I done?
You know, the recording process of the album very straightforward. It was very workmanlike. We were recording in the studio and it's kind of in an industrial state in the middle of nowhere. So there weren't any distractions. And we just kind of really got our heads down, just worked really hard. And managed to record, I think it was 18 songs over the period of 2 months. So it was a very, very productive time.
It was one of the funnest experiences I've ever had recording music, you know. I've had some great times before, but with this was just like writing it and recording it. It was, like I said earlier, it was just really fun, you know. It was not to say that it didn't have its hard times, because obviously, you know, you go through those little rough patches. But I think it was really great for me because within this year that we spent together, you know, writing it and recording and everything, it was like each day it was like I would grow like a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, find out more about myself and mature a bit and everything. The process of all of it has been really, definitely life-changing and lovely at the same time. And like I said, it's been one of the funnest times I've ever had in the studio. And yeah, I'm just really, really psyched about everything that's happened. I wouldn't change a thing, that's for sure.
Stephen Forrest.
All right, Stefan. You better pay attention, because this is the last time I'm going to show you how to do this, okay? Now, what you want to do is line yourself up and then just shoot it. That's all you got to do. It's not that difficult.
You gotta improve your life techniques.
Do it like a man and scratch.
I mean, it took a while to get used to being away from home. You know, that was the one big thing, and you know, living in a hotel room. But once we got into making the record, it was pretty smooth running. It's important not to choke songs or to squeeze the life out of them. You know, they have to keep. You have to keep the initial kind of vibe that you had when you wrote it. You know, even into the recording stage. And David was very good at sort of just gauging the mood of the band, and you know, if one of us was kind of struggling, you know, getting a part down, then we'd just move on.
I think my head was pretty much where it usually is, and that I always feel like there is so much room for improvement. I think the day that I don't start to feel that then it's time to give up, or to stop, or to take, like, you know, a really long vacation. So really my main focus was just was to try stretch my abilities as a singer and a guitarist as far as I possibly could, as far as humanly was possible within this body.
I think this record definitely had there's more hope, there's more passion. It was almost like we'd found our old way of working together, you know, because the band started with me and Brian back in '93, and you know, in its front room in a council flat, and it kind of felt that we've got what came back to that working relationship where it was very open, and there was the egos were left at the door, and it was a much more open discussion about what we wanted the songs to be.
We're late starting.
Where's my goddamn latte?
Let's see if it picks up the spray.
Why have we chosen to put horns on this record? Well, we kind of, since we use strings on meds, we started asking ourselves the question, well, what do you do after you use strings? Well, you use a horn section. You know, we just kind of really wanted to, you know, to explore a musical avenue that we hadn't before. And we also, I think, wanted to do something which would surprise a lot of people, which people wouldn't necessarily associate with this band.
Obviously very exciting for us, you know, just to sit and other people play, you know, on our record. We, both us and David, came on the idea of using horns more in a sense of texturing them with guitars, you know, not to use them in necessarily quite obvious fanfare kind of arrangement. So it was also something new, a new sonic palette for us to play with. We made the record without a record company. It was self-funded and done on our own time and completely on our own terms. And it was a freedom that we welcomed after such a long contract with a major label.
As far as the decisions that we made in terms of making the record, i.e. making it without a record company, is very, very much reflected by, you know, the state of the music business today. Of course, we were in the luxurious position of being able to fund the record ourselves without a record company, which a lot of bands aren't. So we took that choice because essentially it would give us just 100% creative freedom.
We weren't really concerned about how it was going to be put out, you know, we're just rejoicing, you know, the freedom.
We weren't really ready to commit ourselves to another record company or record companies when we were ready to go into the studio. You know, in a very similar way to somebody who makes an independent film, you know, we chose to, you know, sort of make it ourselves and then tout it about, essentially. But, and I think it was a wise decision because it sort of put us in a much more enviable position, really.
The industry is changing, you know, you got to move with the times. And I think in a way that the control is reverting back more to the artists. The industry is in a bit of a slump, so we just wanted to more carefully pick and choose how our records were going to be released.
Sure. I've been told to reinforce the point emphatically that you have to be extremely quiet. The voice of God is spoken.
Ooh, brown love.
God is bold. Right, okay, what are we doing again? Okay.
Well, what we've done now is we've gone with a smaller label and also a contract that doesn't run for such a long period of time because it kind of left us with a little bit of a bitter taste in our mouths, you know, just to be part of such a huge corporation where a contract is a contract and it's hard to get out of, you know, it's a bit shackling, you know.
So, here we are in my isolation booth. They put me in here because I'm trouble, you know, and I need to be contained. And presently I've been enjoying myself with this little box here called the Maestro Rhythm, which has proved to be sort of the beginnings, the foundations for a song called The Extra. And this is something I've never really done before, but it's essentially a drum machine, quite a prehistoric one, with these presets here. You've got bossa nova, samba, rumba, swing, Dixie, march, and waltz. The one that we're using is called Go-Go, because we're particularly inspired by Wham on this album. So I can turn it on and off with this little foot switch here. To which I start adding effects such as distortion. A little bit of blue box for a little bit of echo for a note. Up a little bit, another delay pedal. Then we put it through a kind of a sort of modulator octave box. whole song with your feet. Wow. Here we go.
Well, we're just about to start rehearsals. We've firmed up festivals this summer, so we want to put the record out before then. And we also want to rehearse and become, you know, the tight rock band that we want to be.
Our plans for the next year are our plans for the next 2 years, you know, really, which is always the ridiculously daunting prospect of leaving your home for like 2 years of your life and traveling around the world, losing all points of reference and sort of waking up in a different town every day. Having done that before, we kind of know what that means. And it is exciting, but it is also quite daunting. We're putting together a brand new band for this tour, and it looks like we're going to be a 6-piece on stage, which is really exciting. I mean, we started off as like just, you know, a power trio in the mid-90s. To have kind of doubled the personnel in 10, 15 years, you know, probably means that the scope of the music, or, you know, the complexity of the sound has kind of like doubled in order for it to necessitate 6 people to reproduce it live. So it's very exciting. And, you know, we're also the type of band that doesn't necessarily go on tour and recreate down to the very, very last note the songs as they were recorded, you know, on the record. So the idea of kind of using the record as a sort of, you know, starting point and building arrangements on top of that with a whole new live band is really very exciting. We're just about to begin discussing what the live show is going to look like aesthetically, what theatrical trickery we may have at our disposal in order to create something really exciting. But, you know, it has to be said that, you know, you can dress a monkey up in as much designer clothing as you want, and as much Gucci and as much Dior as you like, but it's still going to be a monkey. Do you know what I mean? And it's similar with a live show. You know, you can get all the special effects, all the fireworks, you know, all the projections that you want. And if you don't have a tight band, if you don't have a band there that's really trying their hardest to communicate outwardly to the people, to really give something special, which means to give something of themselves to the audience, then, you know, what you have is a mediocre band with a very expensive stage set.
Oh, just the thought of it, but I know, like, as soon as you get up there and kind of get settled in, you're like nervous, and you ding, okay, then it's gone, and it's like, all right, and we're off, and it just kind of all goes from there. I find it best for me not to think too much about it, because if I do, my head starts spinning a little bit. I'm personally psyched about it. I'm like really excited, you know what I mean? It's like I can't wait to go at that. I mean, I'm a touring musician, man. I love being in the studio and everything, but there's nothing like being live, you know? It's like, that's when you can just let it all out and really just like, boom. And just the whole, you know, going on tour and seeing these different places and playing with these different bands and obviously, yeah, playing in front of that many people, it's like, it's terrifying, but it's a really good terrifying, because that's half the rush, isn't it? You know, like, the little pre-show jitters. I know I'm probably gonna puke, vomit, and shat myself, but it'll be. I'm really excited about it. I'm curious to see how it'll all go. Yeah, this is my first time touring for this amount of time and going to this many places. I'm gonna take lots of photos.
Our main focus has to remain the musicianship and the delivery of these songs. And we will deliver them in the way that we feel is the most soulful, which may not necessarily be exactly the way that everybody in the audience wants to hear them, but it will be the way that is, which makes the most emotional sense at that point in time. That's the whole the whole point of making records, is that you start off with a whole set of intentions, and there might be a kernel of that left by the time you finish it. But you've been through such an emotional journey, and hopefully you've written songs along the way as well, and hopefully songs have changed and taken on new life and everything. But that by the time you finish it, you've come to a place of truth. But it's not really the truth that you kind of set out to tell. But it's kind of a more honest truth, because it's real, it's reality, it's what you've done, as opposed to what you've tried to sculpt. If you manage to remain natural in the recording studio, then the truth that you come up with at the end will be infinitely more accessible to other human beings than one that you tried to sort of maybe squeeze into a box that it didn't fit into.
Wouldn't know where to begin.
One of the things that Steve said when he joined, when he came into the band, was that he wanted to make the band sound like it's, capture the live energy. And I think we've done that with this record.
I think we've made a record which is almost the flip side of Meds. I think we've made a record about choosing life, choosing to live, about stepping out of the darkness and into the light. Not necessarily turning your back on the darkness, because it's there and it's essential and it's a part of who you are, but more about the choice of actually standing in the sunlight instead, and feeling the potential, that each of us really sort of has within ourselves in order to be who we really are meant to be. I'm very optimistic about the future. I'm in a positive frame of mind and in a good headspace. I think there's a lot of life in the old dog just yet. That old dog is called Placebo.